Good evening, Dennis. And yeah, it's been a long season. It's taken longer than expected. But here we are at the last round at Donington Park, and I'm sure it's going to be a lot of fun.
It's a pain in the arse, this track. It's like fucking ice skating.
The number 101 car that you did see, PZN panel beaters Richard Sillier.
I wonder how hard he is.
Richard has popped up into fifth. Almost 3 seconds behind Chris Collison, so Chris is quick. And if we have a look, Chris is about 0.4 of a second quicker than Andre Dippenaar.
Even if it's not actually the EFF, there's going to be trouble.
Yes, he does. Yeah, but if you look at the team championship, Collison and Underwood is Team Harder Racing, and they're at this stage in qualifying second and third, so they look as though they're going to consolidate that win. As you said, it's going to be very difficult for any of the other teams to get close to them.
The cops are busy there. Let's grab this shop here. Let's go to that spaza shop there. That's the problem, unfortunately.
I'm not. Just as they go past, just for the people watching, 412 is Brandon Robert, the Top Tech IT Chrome car. So here we sit with Brandon. It looks very different now than what it did in what we received at the beginning, but still gets that corner done very nicely. Yeah. Dennis and I were chatting. Interesting circuit, but I must say, from a person like me that hasn't been there or hasn't driven the track, I have watched a few laps of the other cars. There aren't many landmarks except for Starkey's Bridge, and then there's a tower just before you go into the Melbourne hairpin. It's actually quite a bland circuit if you look at it. Nice, the lawns look nicely mowed and everything. This does look like the downhill going down to the Craner curves, so that I can at least recognize. And then just after that, you'll find the old hairpin, and there you find Starkey's Bridge, what's left of it, very historical on the left-hand side. And then you go into, some people say the Schwanz curve is listed. You don't see it on all the publication. The right-hander you see here is McLean's. Then it's a bit of, I wouldn't say a chance to relax, but at least get into fourth gear before you gear down again for another right-hander for Coppice. And there he goes through Coppice. It's like a double apex corner. It goes on and on and on. And then you have the Starkey Straight, which you get into fourth gear, maybe fifth, if you're lucky, before you've got to gear down again for the Foggy S's, which is the left-right. Here's the Foggy S's now. That's called Fogarty, of course. And there's now a very busy period. You go fourth, down into third, down into second for Melbourne hairpin. Then there's the tower, the one tower that I did say that does stand out. And out of Melbourne hairpin, you go third and fourth again. And you're not in fourth for very long before you go back to third and second for the last corner of the circuit, and that's Goddard's, which takes you into the straight. One of the Team Harder Racing competitors, he's in fourth with his teammate Chris Collison, number 22, in second in qualifying at the moment. And there's still just under 5 minutes to go in this qualifying session. It will be for an interesting and, of course, a rolling start second race. Apologies if the voice is still croaky. The throat is still recovering from a little bit more than serious bout of flu. So I'm getting better day by day. But yeah, the phlegm just doesn't want to go away. But other than that, we are managing well. Yeah, now feeling 100%. So that's which is left. Yeah, there's Jason just thrown that lap away, and that's just out of the Melbourne hairpin. So just, I think, a little bit early on the throttle, and remembering you come out of Melbourne hairpin in second gear. So if you're going to be early on the throttle, the back end of that BMW is going to step out on you, virtually guaranteed. Yeah, I'll say he took that corner in two pieces. We seem to be doing that quite well. which is, as we go on board with them, they've just gone through Hollywood, down the hill to the Craner Curves. It's a left and a, he actually has a corner named after him a little bit after Starkey's Bridge, which is the one that we come past now. We've gone through the old hairpin. Here's the Schwanz curve, which is the left-hander, and then the right-hand coming up is McLean's. That also has, as I said, it seems to be like a two apex corner. Then you go down a bit, and then you have another little bit more than 90 degrees is Coppice. That one also carries on. Yeah, you don't see the corner actually. So you're through Coppice, then you have a little bit to relax, get into fourth gear, and that's the Starkey Straight. And then you dip back into third gear for the Foggy S's, and there's the left and the right. And there's not much curb, or the curbs don't seem to be very pronounced. So this is a busy piece. You're into fourth, back into third, back into second. There's the tower, which tells you this is the Melbourne hairpin. And you exit out of second. Yeah, you've got to be very light on the throttle. Then it's third and fourth. This is a very busy part of the circuit for the driver. And then for Goddard's, you'll be back into third and second here. And you'll keep it in second all the way out of Goddard's, as you see, and use this that and a bit more. Yeah, he's kept it nice and smooth. And then across the finish line. So let's see where he's gone. It looks as though he's in sixth position. So one of the guys in front of him, yellow flag in section 2, but probably won't be there for very long. Oh, there's the Timo's car in the Minions Racing. And actually a very good time. It's only 0.6 of a second off Jandre Dippenaar, who's snuck up into the pole with us missing that as well. So a lot happening with only less than a minute to go. So those that are coming to the finish line, this car coming out of the pit lane now will not get a lap in if it does come out, the blue car that was on its way out, because it's not going to get around quick enough to actually start a timed lap. So Timo Smith, this lap will count very definitely. If you can improve on that 1 minute 40.8. So that's actually a demon lap for him. I remember one of the races during the course of the championship with a reverse grid, he started in pole and the lights went off and Timo disappeared into the sunset, never to be seen again. And everybody else was fighting for second, third and fourth. And he got a win by quite a margin, if I remember correctly. These cars very sensitive, being quite heavy in the rear end. They seem to be, you've got to be very, very gentle on throttle and steering wheel when you go out of the corners. No, he's in pits, yeah. So where's Brandon? 7th at the moment. So if he can do the last portion of the track well, then he might improve it for himself from that position. Here he comes now to the finish line. Brandon Robert in 7th, and I think he's going to stay in 7th. Yeah, although it's a PB, a 42.1 for him. So the Jack Daniels car of Rian van der Westhuizen, it was 8th, and it stays 8th. He didn't get a good first section, but he got a good second and third section. Here's the High Revolution car, number 422 of Alwin. Quite possible. Yeah. He got that entry very wrong. There we go.
All right, welcome back, everybody. Hopefully, audio levels are all okay. We haven't checked if audio was all right, but yeah, hopefully everything's all good. Welcome to all our YouTube members. BBC, not sure who that is, Brexit Bribery Committee. So, welcome to you, Caroline Yost. Good to have you as well, and Peter Marais, chatting and driving. It's a unique skill. Good to have you guys there, though. All right, so just to let you all know, this is the final round of the Alwin BMW Racing Cup Season 2, 2022, Season 2, Round 8, coming to you live from Donington Park in Leicestershire in England. I am your commentator, Dennis Mitchell, joined again tonight for the final round by Sean Woodgate. So good evening, Sean.
Good evening, Dennis. Good evening, everybody. Nice to be back again. And the last round, so we've got here eventually, and we look forward to a good night's racing. Keep it hard, keep it clean, and we'll see what's going to happen to the results at the end. As we see, it's only 7 points between Jason and Chris, and they also, the Team Harder Racing is the team that's out in the lead, I think ahead of probably PZN panel beaters.
Let's have a look at that. There are the team standings.
Yeah, so that's quite a big difference. But 7 points between the two Team Harder Racing guys. Certainly things can happen between them. I'm not sure. They probably don't have team orders. And it is a tight championship to take it all the way down to the last race.
All right, so perhaps we can just go through our, and find the right buttons here. Go through our starting order. I just need to find myself. I'm a little bit delayed here. Excuse me. I'm like half asleep or something. So this, of course, is Jandre Dippenaar's pole position from Chris Collison, Timo Smith in third, and Richard Celia in fourth. Jason Underwood in fifth, Adrian Null in sixth, Brandon Roberts in seventh, Rian van der Westhuizen in eighth. Of course, this is not Road Atlanta. This is Donington Park. Apologies for that. Peter Marais in ninth, Wessel Viljoen in 10th, Andre Hildebrandt in 11th, Stan Bezuidenhout in 12th. Rudy van der Westhuizen in 13th and Julian Brains in 14th.
Quite a few nice historical buildings around. And if you do see an aircraft go over the top, they are just down the road from the East Midlands Airport. And the runway runs east-west, and the one that bothers these guys the most, I do believe, is runway 27, which is the one that takes off in an easterly direction, because they say jets that take off don't burn all the fuel that they do, and would you believe some of that fuel mist actually could affect the grip on the circuit, believe it or not.
Oh, it's quite amazing in this day and age. You have that sort of issue, air traffic affecting the ground traffic.
And certainly, if it's going to affect the grip, it's going to smudge your windscreen as well. I think it has the potential, but we'll wait and see if that's going to be a factor at all.
That's why this track is notoriously bad when it rains. When the rain just comes down, then obviously there's that light coat of water sitting on a coat of oil. Not a good combination.
No.
Right, the drivers are coming onto the main straight. They'll take up their grid positions. Of course, race 1 is a standing start, race 2 is a rolling start, so the drivers coming up to their grid slots, weaving about, trying to generate some tire temperature. Apologies for my squeaky chair, the squeaks have returned.
Certainly looks like a bright sunlight day, so I don't think the weather's going to play a role.
Right, so the drivers are there. The times have started ticking down, so the drivers are all in their correct spots. And we're away. Good start by Jandre.
Has a demon start.
Yes, it looked like Chris was sleeping off the line. Timo up at second. It looks like Jason coming up on the inside of Chris. So Jason had a good start. That's good for the inter-team battle. Of course, Adrian Null right there with them as well.
Adrian's up on the inside, so he's splitting the Harder Racing guys, and of course with the Minions car getting away of Timo Smith, that's shaken up a few things as they head down to the cradle curves. So the start certainly very different after about 3 or 4 corners from what qualifying happened. And it looks as though Jason, as you said, the fact that he got off the line, so it took him quite a while to get going. That means Adrian Nell is right up there with him, and with Adrian challenging Jason, that'll probably slow Jason down or force Jason to alter his normal racing line a bit, which will give Chris a chance to catch up to Adrian. And then it's going to be the harder racing guys with Adrian Nell in the sandwich in between.
Yes.
So they're still going strong and all clear. Great start, actually. Everybody seemed to keep clear of everybody else, which makes a big difference. They're running in 2 pairs in the front. It's Jandre Dippenaar and Timo Smit seem to get away very well. Then Jason Underwood had a less good start, and Adrian Nell seems to be running with him. And there you see that there's the challenge. In fact, Timo up on the inside of Jandre and takes a nice clean pass.
Oh, Jandre's going to have the inside, into the final turn though. They're leaning on each other.
But there's a car with room, so they're doing it very nicely. Is he going to cut back at him? No, I think he just didn't have the speed. The wrong part of the circuit, so you've got to actually be on the brakes. A little bit different, but it's nice to see that the racing is this close and this clean as well. That was a very good picture on board the cars that saw that Jandre left Timo more than enough space, and Timo also good gentleman driving, competitively pushing hard, but just wasn't well placed to take the lead. Well, he took the lead, but he couldn't hold on to it.
I said, while they're fighting, that's allowing Jason to close in a bit with Adrian, so this is going to be a 4-way battle soon.
Yeah.
Oh, Adrian getting really loose in the background.
Yeah, Richard Sillier and company, they're not too far back, but it's early in the race yet, so we'll have to wait and see. There's number 101, certainly trying his utmost. That's Richard Sillier, gets a bit of a drift on out of the corner there. But this, of course, we're running a 25-minute race, so the clock, 20-minute race, so 17 minutes to go. So it'll be interesting as to who's going to be able to catch up to whom at this stage.
While we're looking at Stan Bezuidenhout, we do have a feed from Stan tonight. I'm just going to see if I can find it. If I can, then hopefully we can jump to that.
He's running a little bit isolated at the moment, although I'm sure he's trying his utmost to catch up to the car ahead of him. But at number 36, one of those, I seem to hop on the subject, but it's a nice big number, and you find it on the car very quickly, so it stands out quite clearly. And him and the other one, I think it is, let's try and find number 420, Peter Murray, has also a nice big number. The PZN trucking car, that also has a nice big number that you can see.
Here we have Stan Bezuidenhout sharing his feed with us. Unfortunately, I've got his face chopped off there because he's in the wrong. I'll rectify that for race 2, so apologies for that, Stan.
Nice to see the in-car as they go down the track, so you can actually see the inputs from the drivers as well. I was listening and watching Dennis going around the circuit just now, and you hear the clicks of the paddle shift. Luckily Dennis didn't say much, but there were a few corners that caught him out, and I had a 360-degree view of the corners. But here's a nice battle behind the Minions car, so that will be, is Timo in the lead now?
It is.
And we missed that.
And Adrian's got ahead of Jason as well.
Yeah, so this is becoming very interesting now with Timo, Jandre, Adrian, and then Jason. So you said there's going to be 4 very soon together. I didn't expect Timo to get through. It must have been a mistake by Jason, I'm not sure. But for Jason to drop down to 4th position and Chris is in 5th. So the top 5 is going to be very, very competitive all the way down with 15 minutes and 20 seconds. But look at Timo go. Once he's got past him, because now you must recall that Jandre has to battle with Adrian behind him. So he's probably taking a defensive line. Yeah, it takes the inside of the corner. There's a bit of drift, but he catches it in time. So now Adrian can set off and see if he can catch up to Timo Smit.
Jason having a look at Jandre now, up the inside. Oh, slight contact.
There's a nudge.
Another one. Oh,
rubbing
his racing.
Jandre's car actually through the window. You saw his hands fighting with the steering wheel. So yeah, that was a very tough corner for the two of them. They still haven't gotten rid of each other, as it were. But Yandre's got Jason Underwood right there behind him, and Jason certainly is making his presence well known.
Indeed. I'm going to see if we can get another view so we can see a bit more. Since we do have a second view. Let's see.
Just behind Chris is Richard Sillier, which is the number 101 car. That's the PZN panel beaters car. I just want to see how far back he is. And then there's, I think from them, there's quite a long gap, 4.5 seconds to Brandon Robert, number 412. Thanks to JU Autos for the multi-views that we do see. Also PZN panel beaters. They're very actively involved. And a big thank you to Alwin Automotive Glass and Aluminium for all your automotive aluminium sliding windows and glass requirements. They are the people to get all of.
Right, we'll get back to that in a moment. Jason having a good look at the moment.
Yeah, he has the number 1 on his car for a good reason.
Ooh, a bit of contact there, but he's through, and Chris sneaking through as well.
Yeah, his teammate. So it's more than 3/4 of the car, so he just cuts off. But back at him comes Yandre. Yandre certainly isn't giving this up very easily. He actually did a very nice maneuver through up on the inside, as you said. Positioning for that final corner, which is Goddard's, is critical that you actually do have the inside part of the corner, because it looks as though it's very difficult going around the outside. So Yandre holding off for dear life with Chris Collison down into 5th, and with Jason up into 3rd. That makes life interesting. Let's see what the lead is. 0.7 of a second between Timo Smit and Adrian Neld. I just mentioned it so that we make a mental note of it to see whether Timo stays ahead. Instead, he's increased it now to 0.8. So Timo's having a good run. He's one of those guys, we've seen it before. I just happened to mention it coincidentally, that when he got into the lead of a race previously in the year, he certainly drove away from everybody else. And there's 1.5 seconds between Adrian and Jason Underwood in 3rd. So Jason is not close enough to make life difficult for Adrian. And yeah, you're looking back from the Minions car of Timo Smit at Adrian Nel, the red car, in 2nd position. So the gap's still 0.8 of a second or thereabouts. So it looks as though Timo and Adrian are running virtually identical lap times as they are on the track at the moment.
Now, Timo's certainly holding his own at the moment, but Adrian is keeping him honest. Adrian did get a personal best, or actually a fastest first sector overall of a 21.101. Timo's a 21.191. So very, very close.
With that said, the gap has jumped up to a second. So Timo, even though he might not be getting the best sector times, overall he's certainly running a very good lap time. His last lap of 41. That's the fastest. We find the last lap of 41.1
which is
by Timo,
his fastest, yeah.
and a 41.5 by Adrian. So Timo's really going really well.
Jason's just at the fastest lap of the race of a 41 dead.
Yeah, but he is a second behind Adrian, who's another second behind Timo. So 2nd and 3rd, equidistant from the cars ahead of them respectively, but certainly a lot still to race for. I'm not good at the maths and I didn't make a note of where the championship was. I know it was 7 points between Jason and Chris, but who was in the lead?
Jason is in the lead by 7 points, yes. Over Chris.
Okay, so he's going to be further in the lead if he finishes 3rd and Chris finishes 5th. So a good run there. Between Jason and Chris is Yandre de Penard, and he's in the PZN panel beaters car number 9. Here he comes around the corner now. You see him just behind there. It's Adrian Nel, then Jason, then Yandre.
Yeah, so at the moment there's a few close battles on the track. So at the moment the Yandre-Jason battle is under a second, or it's just gone over a second. Chris Collison is actually right behind him, so perhaps we should focus on that a bit. He's closing in on Yandre. He's having a little look, just showing Yandre in his mirrors. A little bit of intimidation. That's a common thing in racing, just to show the driver you are there. Also lets them know that they must start preparing for you to make a pass, so that you can hopefully limit any collisions. Doesn't always work.
Yeah. And then there's a 1.5 second gap between Chris Collison, number 22, and Richard Sillier, number 101.
Correct.
And then big gaps thereafter.
There's a small gap between Wessel Viljoen and Rian van der Westhuizen, which we now see on screen. Rian currently in 8th place, Vessel in 9th place. Then there's a 3-second gap roughly to Julian Brains, and then a 4-second gap to Andre Hildebrandt, and another 4-second gap to Peter Murray, and then Stan Bezednert in the final position. We did lose a driver, I'm not sure which one it was. Nice move there. Looked like Rian challenging.
Yeah, this is further back, so this is the Brandon Robert and Rian van der Westhuizen battle that's raging.
This is a 3-way battle then for 7th place. I think Brandon must have made a mistake. I don't believe Rian was that close to him. Looks like a bit of smoke coming off his tires there, so I haven't seen Brandon practicing much. Maybe just a little bit sort of rough around the edges, but I imagine he'll just get smoother and smoother as the race progresses.
Yeah, with these big cars being quite heavy, if you put them out sideways out of the corners like that, I don't think the rubber is designed to go sideways. Oh, look how much Adrian now has caught up to Timo Smith. The gap now down to half a second, 0.6 thereabouts. So certainly it was a second. And if you look at the last lap, we don't have a last lap time for Adrian for some reason, but Timo doing a 1:41.1, which is very much the same as his fastest. It differs within the hundredths of a second, and Adrian now they show his fastest lap as a 1:41.49. So where he caught up, but there again Timo's made up and extended again to 0.8 of a second. So Timo driving within himself, and from what I can see, there are 8 minutes to run. And certainly that's exciting racing for first and second. And I think Jason, Yandre, and Chris, they've just decided, let's consolidate the points that we do have. We're not going to chase after Adrian and Timo in first and second place. So Adrian, the red car, number 15, and the Minions car, number 84, Timo Smith, out in the lead.
And just once again, reminding everyone, thank you again to our series sponsor, Alwin Automotive Glass. If you have any automotive glass requirements, you can head over to www.alwin.co.za and give Hilke a shout. He'll gladly help you out. I have personally dealt with their glass, as I now work for a company that deals with their glass, and I actually do the orders, so I can assure you their glass is top notch. Absolutely amazing stuff. So give Hilke a shout and he can give you any of your glass requirements.
They of course do sliding, automotive sliding windows as well. So certainly if you've got a double cab or something with a canopy on it that has a glass, then they're the people to go and shout at. Well, not shout at, but give them a shout.
No, you don't want to shout at them. Close their windows if they're shouting at you.
Yeah, and they've got a good product, so they won't hear you. Right, 0.6 of a second between Adrian and Timo, and you can see now that Adrian is visibly right there with him, and the slightest mistake from Timo, and if Adrian can get his car well positioned, then the race leadership can change. It's 6 minutes 20 to go, so certainly they are going around, and keeping in mind they do a 1 minute 41, so my head has got to do, say it's 1.5 minutes per lap, so they're going to do another 4 laps thereabouts and 1, so probably the one they're on plus 4. Because very, very close racing. It's about a car's length between Adrian Nell and Timo Smith. And if
look
you
at that. Wouldn't want to be an ant on that bumper.
Now, if you are a paper sponsor, then you can measure the thickness of a piece of paper between the front and rear bumpers of those 2 cars.
Adrian squaring off the corner, taking a wider entry. Try and get a bit more drive. It didn't seem to quite work on that part of the track. I don't think it could make much of a difference. Oh, a bit too much of a cut there.
Timo running a little bit middle of the road, missing the apex of that corner completely. So, but getting out of it cleanly, so possibly keeping good momentum and in his favor as well as they get to the brakes. Certainly a difficult section of the track here where you change direction twice for these heavy cars, but both Timo and Adrian, and there Adrian comes up on the inside. Is Timo going to give it to him? No,
not
but he's still up on the inside, but Adrian has a slide on, so let's see if Timo gets out of the corner better, and there he goes to cover the line, which he's allowed to do because he's fully ahead. But I think he might not have positioned the car very well for the inside of where they start the straight. But Timo's still in the lead. It's down to quarter of a second now. So if you see third and fourth, Jason Underwood and Chris Collison, they've lost Richard Salier somewhere in the distance. So the teammates of Team Harder Racing are now running third and fourth. And it looks as though Timo Smith has a battle on his hands with 4 minutes 20 still to go.
Yeah, great battle at the moment, and he's fighting hard, but there's only 4 minutes left to go in race 1, which is probably about 3 laps, roughly.
They'll complete this one and probably do 2 more. And I see there that Timo cutting the corner a little bit, because that means that Adrian can't think of doing the same because his car is already there. So it takes away that chance of Timo now making the car very wide, which I think is probably not racing the ideal line, which is probably slowing him up. And let's have a look. For some reason, we're not getting a last lap time for Adrian now, but not that it matters much.
That's because you would have taken a cut. When you take a cut, it removes your time.
Okay.
But you get a warning in car.
Okay, so Adrian is up onto Timo there, but with a nudge there, I think he had to let him go. Whether there was actual contact, I don't know, but it certainly looked very, very close. And Adrian just plays a totally different line. I think he's going to go wide out and then into the corner narrow. No, he doesn't manage that. He actually takes the long way around the corner, and Timo manages to hold on to the lead. Adrian is going left, he's going right, he's going all over the show, but he just can't get his car placed to mount an attack on Timo. This is now 3 minutes as they cross the line again. So with lap times of 1:40, they'll probably do this one and one more. So that's 2 minutes 80. Well, no, and another one. So we'll have to wait and see. Oh, a bad exit there for Timo.
Yes, I think Arden's got it, yeah? Yep.
Yeah.
He's ahead.
And that's exactly what pressure does. So Arden actually didn't take that corner. It's Timo that gave it away, because the exit out of the corner meant that he was very, very wide, and it probably slowed him down as well. But he's there to fight back, as it's just after Starkey's Bridge. So this will be McLean's coming up next, which is almost 90-degree right. And that could be a good place if you get your car, or if your opponent gets a bit of drift out. Then these circuits in the UK, of course, have grass beyond the white line. So if you get 2 wheels on the grass, then first of all, the grip is not good, and secondly, the acceleration is not good. But it looks as though Adrian has got it pretty nice and straight in the middle of the road now, and getting away from Timo. It's about 0.4 of a second that he has on the lead now.
Timo's still there. It's down to 0.2 at the moment, so obviously through the chicanes closing in a bit, and it's staying 2.5 tenths. The braking zone. Here it comes. Oh, that was quite a lunge.
To hold it. Let's see. No, I thought that's a bit quick into and out of the corner. So very enthusiastic, but I think he's actually lost or made that Jason Underwood is now a lot closer to him. Jason's less than a second behind Timo. So there's another battle that Timo will have to now consider. There you see Jason.
And Chris is only a second to 1.3 behind that. So yeah, nice 4-way battle with a minute and a bit to go.
Yeah, this will be the last lap. So there's first, second, third, and fourth that you see in front of you now. And Adrian has built a lead of 1 second ahead of Timo Smith.
Yeah, it looks like he's starting to pull away now.
Yeah, Jason has 0.7 of a second behind Timo. And I don't think Chris is going to challenge at all, being 1.3 seconds behind Jason. But the battle for second and third, I think that's going to be where the battle is for this race, right until the end. So Timo probably fuming at himself, but that's the way it goes. And just one little mistake it was, and that was the first position gone, and he'd held it for so long. But it's the old story, you've got to first finish to finish first. So, but I think he'd be pretty chuffed with a podium placing for this race. They are fighting at each other. Nice view from the car behind them, which is Chris Collison. There's an aircraft that we see just taking off there from runway 27, heading east from the East Midlands Airport. So these guys aren't too worried about that.
Right, time is now up, so this is it.
Yeah, this will be for the flag, and it looks as though Adrian now has timed it perfectly. It's going to be up to Timo Smith to see if he can keep that 0.8 of a second gap and I think he might have just done enough to, I think was that the Melbourne hairpin that they do. They've got another Goddard's, which is also quite a difficult part of the track, a tight corner that leads them into the finish line, and I think that's the way they're going to finish.
All right, it is indeed. So Adrian Nell in first place from Timo Smit, then Jason Underwood, then Chris Collison. In fifth place we have Richard Celia, managing to finish ahead of his teammate.
That he went all the way down to 6th.
I know he's got an injured finger which is pretty badly cut.
Oh, that doesn't make life very pleasant if you're handling a steering wheel, yeah.
I had actually forgotten about it, but he's done exceptionally well. Brandon Robert in 7th place, also a good result for Brandon. In 8th place, a good result for Julian, having worked his way up. I think he qualified 14th, up to 8th place in race 1, which is, I believe, 3rd place for race 2.
So that'll be a good start for him.
Andre Hildebrand 9th, and Vessel Viljoen will be 10th place and pole position for race 2.
Right, and then Rian van der Westhuizen, Peter Murray, and Stan Besaidnout will be 11th, 12th, and 13th, as we only swap the first 10 in the reverse grid for race 2.
So Stan Besaidnout, the only driver to yet finish the race. He's coming around the last sector now.
He had more than half a minute between himself and Peter Murray.
Right, so Stan navigating the second last corner. My Achilles heel, that corner.
The Melbourne hairpin. And this, as I said, this is a very busy part of the track. You get all the way up into 4th gear, then it's 3rd, 2nd, and into Goddard's. Out of Goddard's, you're into 3rd gear again. Depending how far back the finish line is, you might be into 4th.
And he crosses the line. So
I think at that stage he's probably still in 3rd.
We'll be back after the grid has been reset, so probably about 5 to 10 minutes at the most. So we will be back shortly. We'll be with you then. So see you in a moment.
See you in a moment.
Right, welcome back everybody for race 2 of the Alwin BMW Racing Cup final round, round 8 from Donington Park in Leicestershire in England. This is our final 20-minute race of the championship. We currently have Andre Hildebrand in second place from Wesselvollien in pole position. We'll run through the positions shortly. I, of course, am your commentator Dennis Mitchell, joined once again by Sean Woodgate. Sean, perhaps you could run us through our driver order as soon as everyone is on track. Just waiting for everyone to join.
We'll wait for it to pop up.
There's 3 or 2 seconds
It's
to
from
go.
10th position reversed all the way down.
Right, so the drivers are on their way. We have a starting order
Almost up.
now coming on screen. Oops, it won't be yet because I haven't clicked the right option here. Right, it will now pop up. Right, there you go. Oh, apologies, I haven't changed the other thing.
It's going to be Wesselvollien, the High Revolution roadside car number 422 from Andre Hildebrand, number 72. Julian Roberts is in third position, and then there's Brandon Robert, Jandre Dippenaar in fifth, Richard still here, Chris Collison and Jason Underwood. Those two, number 7 and 8 on the grid, are teammates and are more than likely the winners of the team championship. Then it's the Minions Racing of Timo Smit, Adrian Elwood, the winner of the race, and then Rian van der Westhuizen and Peter Marais, number 420 in 12th position. And Stan Verzeidnout, number 36, is in 13th. 14th, it'll be Rudy in the PZN trucking car. So Rudy van der Westhuizen, nice big number 518. He's going to be at the back of the grid and see if he can catch up to any of the cars ahead of him.
All right, so I'm just going to get some of these boxes up so we can see who's who.
Rolling start, 20 minutes.
Yes, that's correct. Final 20 minutes of the BMW Championship.
Yeah, and then we have a bit of a break before we go to the GT3s, and that's going to be interesting because there we have a multitude of cars that the drivers can choose from, which will of course make life very, very interesting.
Right, the pack is now nearing the end of the lap. Coming down into
Lights
the
are
final
off
sector shortly.
on the pace car.
Correct, he's coming in. Surprised there's not
let's
more
see.
drivers weaving. Usually they weave all over the show. I'm glad because sometimes their weaving ends up with contact.
Yeah. Let's see how long Vessel Viljoen can hold them off. That's number 422 in the High Revolution roadside assistance. That's in the lead, and he's got Andre Hildebrandt, the Top Tech IT Chrome, number 72 in second position. So everything to fight for. This, I think, is Melbourne Hairpin. And then it'll be the last corner, Goddard's, and they'll be into the start. Wait for the pace car to disappear. That'll exit left. There it goes.
Right, and we're away.
I think it was Julian actually didn't have that good a start from third position. You can see already they're 4 abreast behind Julian, so he might lose that what was third position. So we'll wait and see. But certainly, yeah, somebody off there and dust. So Timo's still going. Yeah, he's made up a boatload of positions. Looks as though he's up into 4th or 5th position. Is Timo Smit. So he got a demon start, considering the fact that I think he started in 9th.
As did Jandre Dippenaar. He's challenging for the lead already.
Yeah.
Long
So
side.
Jandre had a good race in the first portion of the first race, but then, as you say, he has a cut on his finger and he takes the lead. So certainly that didn't take him very long, but he had a great start and great momentum out of the corner, and that's what made that pass just so easy. And Jandre in the lead in the PZN panel beaters car number 9, and he's got behind him Julian number 333. So Julian will try all that he can to hold on to the positions and not get the guys to come past him. So that's Julian Brains, of course. I think I called him Julian Roberts by mistake earlier on, but nonetheless, certainly going strong and running a good race at this stage. If I can just find where I have put the picture. There it is. So here comes the Minions car, but not well placed, and he's actually got to get on the brake, which slows. Who's behind him? It was Jason Underwood, I think. So Jason Underwood had to get on the brakes. Adrian Nell had to get on the brakes. I think Timo just got the car badly placed going into the corner behind Andre Hildebrandt. And then with the brakes, that sort of just caused a traffic jam. Oh, there's a one going around the corner on 2 wheels. I wonder who that was. Was that Vessel or Stan?
It was Rian van der Westhuizen.
Was it Rian? My God, I was 1 car up, 1 car down. That's number 69, Rian. Certainly getting a view of the circuit that not very many people get at about 80 degrees off the track.
Well held and well recovered too. Oh, I spoke too soon as he loses it there. Oh dear.
That's just the number 36 car of Stan Mercedes. Now, it was in the wrong place at the wrong time because I think it was Rudy that actually lost it. But nonetheless, the race lead is still going on and holding on. But I think the camera's just holding a little back for. Yeah, it's Jandre Dippenaar that's really got the pedal down. Chris Collison is 1.2 seconds behind him. He's probably doing everything in his might to catch. Jandre puts in, obviously, because it's the first lap, it's the quickest lap. So the quickest timed completed lap. and everybody else is fighting for the positions behind them. But Jan-Ray Dippenaar, keep in mind 1.3 seconds that he's ahead of Chris Carlson in second position as they come to almost the finish. Oh no, this is the start of they go through the granite curves, and then what used to be the old end. And look at the Minions car. That's certainly coming back to against Andre Hildebrandt. He's got it well positioned, and it's a right-hand corner, so that's a pass made quite easily. But is he able to hold the momentum out of the corner? I think he has just done so.
You will have the inside into the final turn now.
Yeah, Timo Smit a good race for tonight. Even in the first and the second race, he had a demon start to get up into fourth position quite quickly. And behind him, Andre Hildebrandt got out a bit squirrely, which means he lost a bit of space between himself and Timo. And Timo is now off to chase Julian. And let's see if he gets up to Julian. He does, in fact, get to him quite quickly. I think that's Hollywood, and then the Craner curves as they go down the hill. And then it'll be the Old Hairpin and Starkey's Bridge. So here come the Craner curves. And they go through those in a nice flowing
Two of the drivers. Oh, you see Julian heading off. Two of the drivers in the pits at the moment, Brandon Robert and Wessel Verloon. Of course, Wessel was in the lead and he went off while we were looking at other things, but something happened to Brandon, which I think was the driver at the start that we saw going off, but we couldn't figure out who it was.
With the dust.
Yes.
So with that car now going off, that means Timo Smit is up into third.
That's right.
And he's got Chris Collison ahead of him, and ahead of that is Jan-Ray Dippenaar. Where is Adrian? Adrian seems to be battling back in seventh position. One would expect him to be a little bit higher up by now, but he's behind that gaggle of three cars ahead of him, so he's got to get well positioned. Remember that they're fighting between themselves, so he's got to be very, very careful where he puts his car if he decides to pass any one or more of them, because he could so easily be badly placed, and that could be detrimental to his own race very early on. I think he might just try and pick them off one at a time. But those two are fighting at each other, the PZN car and...
last three-way battling there.
Yes, and Adrian might just pick off one of the positions. Yes, he does. He's up into sixth position.
Jason
but
fighting off Rich and ends up losing out almost to Adrian, but managing to keep him at bay.
Adrian had the sixth position, but he's lost it again to Jason Underwood. So Jason was sixth, down to seventh, and back up to sixth again. Late on the brakes, was that a nudge, a barge? They still had each other. So certainly Adrian is roughing it in this race, and it's not going to end very well, I'm afraid, if they carry on like that. Better to give a little bit of space. Yeah.
I think on the brakes he got a bit squirrely, and then had to run into Jason a bit, and then obviously the corner was tightening, so they kept rubbing onto each other. But thankfully they both survived that. Hopefully they carry on.
And there's a slow car ahead of them, which is Andre Hildebrandt. So whether Andre Hildebrandt is going to be a factor between the two of them remains to be seen. And Jason doesn't seem to be well placed at this stage. Does he do so now? Still doesn't get the car well placed to try and make an overtake.
Difficult for Jason when you got a car that's in front breaking momentum slightly, and you got the car behind, which is the fast car trying to attack. So Jason's desperately trying to get past so that he doesn't lose the place to Adrian. Here he goes up the inside. Will he make a stick? I think he's a bit far back.
Yeah, that was a bit optimistic. And ahead of them is Richard still here in the PZN panel beat is number 101. Getting away. Here's Adrian attacking Jason now. So Adrian back in behind Jason. And this time it looks as though it is going to stick. So Jason down into... Well, they seem to have swapped positions back again. So Adrian in seventh, Jason in sixth, and that battle is never ending. But that tells me that Jan-Ray is 0.4 of a second ahead of Chris Collison. Timo Smit is all of 3 seconds behind the two of them. So I'm not sure if Timo had a moment to lose 2.5 seconds between himself and Chris Collison, because it was a lot closer before that. We haven't seen them for quite a while.
And Chris is right up behind Jan-Ray now, which wasn't the case earlier. So maybe it's Chris that's just pulled away and Timo hasn't kept pace.
Yeah, because Timo's running all on his own. You just saw him in the back. There he comes through that corner now. He's certainly can't not complain, but he certainly doesn't have anything to defend. So he can really just concentrate on his own race to try and catch up to Chris Collison of Team Harder Racing. So That's the way I think. If you look at the distances, Richard Sillier is a long way back. It's 4.6 seconds that he's behind Timo Schmidt. So it looks as though the battle that's on is for first and second between Jandre Dippenaar, PZN Panel Beaters car number 9, and Chris Collison, Team Harder Racing car number 22.
It's a shame that Jandre is injured this evening, because I think he's certainly got the pace around here. He just, I guess, struggling with the race distance with his finger being the way it is. His finger's literally chopped open.
That's not very nice, yeah. But as I said at the end of the first race, he certainly did have a good first half of the race. Was very competitive and then lost quite a few positions. They got 11 and a half minutes still to go. And at this stage, Jandre, let's see, the quickest lap was Chris Collison, 1:41.6, which was the last lap, which means Chris is pushing hard. It's a quarter of a second and less. Chris takes a totally different racing line. And let's see if he can do it around the outside of Redgate. I don't think he can. Can he tuck it up inside? Because Redgate is a 2-section corner. Then you have Hollywood. And then it's through the Craner curves, which is a double change in direction, which will not be nice for Jandre, because that finger will probably be throbbing by now. And out of the Craner curves, you go through the old hairpin and then past Starkey's Bridge, which is a left-hand corner again, the Schwanz curve, and then McLean's. So he's holding off for now, and it was a quarter of a second. It's now just over 0.35. So it looks as though Jandre has found his mojo, but it looks also that Timo Schmidt has found his mojo, because he's only 2.5 seconds behind Chris Collison at the moment. A lot closer than what he used to be. There he comes into view now. Is this one of the back markers that we just saw in view to the right that they are catching up to? That probably Brandon Robert, if he's still on the track. So the Top Tech IT or Taku Life of Brandon Robert, car number 412, might be a factor in this race still in the next lap or two, unless he just stays nice and clear. We'll have to wait and see as they go through Melbourne hairpin, and then it's a lot of work in the gearbox, or in the gearbox the paddle shifts into Goddard's.
I think the two fighting in the front are allowing Timo to close. Timo's fastest time on the previous lap, which was his fastest overall, was a 41.710, whereas Chris has got the fastest lap overall, which is a 41.6, but in the last lap they were in the 42s. So they're definitely holding each other up just enough to allow Timo to close, and who's now down to 2.4 seconds.
And that's going to put a very different, what shall we say, aspect on first and second if Chris has to defend from Timo as well as trying to attack Jandre. Timo's coming along like a whole team of horses. He's certainly driving a lot smoother when he's driving all on his own. He did make that one mistake in race 1, which cost him the win in that race, but still had a good race nonetheless. And certainly he seems to be very smooth at the moment, whereas Chris, trying very hard, is putting a wheel onto the dirt every now and then. And now you see the Yellow Minions car right there, 1.8 seconds behind Chris Collison, where, as we said not very long ago, it was 0.36, I think it was. So we still wait to see whether I think it's the Brandon Roberts car number 412, whether that's going to be a factor. It's ahead of them.
Brandon's a good driver. I think if he sees him coming, he'll not interfere.
Probably give them road.
Yeah, he's just been unfortunate with incidents, but yeah, he's a good driver, and he's not usually at the back, so just a bit unfortunate the way the race has turned out for him. But I think when the drivers start coming past, he'll be quite courteous. I know he's a very sportsman type driver.
The other thing that one has to consider, of course, is Chris Collison doesn't have to pass Jandre. He doesn't have to win this race to win the championship. So I wouldn't say there's not that much motivation, because all motor racing drivers want to win a race. Let's just keep an eye on Timo. It's back to 1.9 seconds. And the last lap was a 1:41.7 versus Chris Collison's 1:41.8. So catching up by 0.2 of a second. That could make life interesting. There's Adrian Nell, I think it is.
Yes, with Jason right behind him.
Yeah.
And behind them, Richard. So once again, Team Hard Racing, PZN together on track in battles. Championship's been between the two of them. Their battles on track have always been very, very tight.
Yeah, so Adrian's in 4th, Jason's in 5th, and Richard Silier's in 6th position. So that could be still interesting as we have, I just got a page a fraction up, 7 minutes to go.
So extremely close at the moment. A couple of good battles. Battle for the lead. Timo sitting right there, very close. And then we've got Adrian, Nell, and Jason extremely close with Richard right there. In fact, that's probably the closest battle at the moment, even slightly closer than this battle. So go to that.
Well, certainly very, very close racing that there is at the moment. Adrian Nowell is 0.4 of a second ahead of Jason Underwood. Oh, Jason gets that corner. I said earlier in race 1 that these curbs aren't too vicious, and having just seen that one, then certainly that one did get the better of Jason and unbalanced that car quite a bit.
Yeah, if you just hit it just slightly wrong, get your throttle at the wrong point, hit the bump, it just brings the back end around, and then you're fighting a bit of a slide.
Yeah, so very unforgiving, which is what curbs are meant to be. The circuit is actually meant to stop at that solid white line, but the guys learn very quickly. I know Swartkops, the old circuit at the top of the drive-in, they used to hook the car around the corner and actually use sort of just the undulation of the tar to help them around the corner. But I'm sure in some of these corners, actually, if you look at Formula One, the track they race tonight, if you don't use the curbs, then you're going to be out of it. So, yes, as we said, Brandon, well, he has to take that curb. He stays out of the way. He allows Jandre past, and Jandre gets past and puts that car between himself and Chris Collison. So he stays wide again, which is great, well-mannered driving. Well done to you, sir. And let's see how Timo Smit catches up. Timo back to under a second now.
1.6 to the lead and 7/10 to Chris.
Yeah. And Timo just not getting past Brandon. As they come to Melbourne, I think it is. No, this isn't Melbourne. This will be the curves that they go through. And certainly the cars use the curbing and a bit. But Timo in 3rd position now, and what's his gap? It's only 0.7. So 1st to 2nd, 2nd to 3rd is 0.8 and 0.7. So everything to fight for in the top 3 for the podium position of this race. And unluckily, Jandre didn't have a good finish in race 1, so he's not going to be on the podium, I think, for the day overall. But certainly he's having a great second race. So whatever he's doing, half a second ahead of Chris Collison, and Timo Smit a second further adrift. Looks as though he just didn't get the corners out. He was a lot closer earlier, but now he's got to think about his racing. He's going to be probably 1st or 2nd on the podium at the end of the day. So it's everything to fight for, considering that Adrian won the first race and Adrian's in 4th. That means that Timo Smit might be there. If he's not 1st, then he's going to be 2nd. So that's just my mental arithmetic. But don't take that as a judge of fact. It might be wrong.
Adrian Nels also set the fastest lap of the race with 40.942.
Yeah, the problem that he has is he's 6.5 seconds behind Timo Smit. Yes. So with only 3 minutes 40 to go, he's not going to catch him. They'll probably finish, it depends where they are on the track now. It'll be definitely 2 laps, but this lap and 2 more, I think.
Oh, and he's just run wide and off the track, and is he going to spin? Keeps it out the barrier.
That means Timo is definitely on the podium.
Yes, he is, definitely.
Yeah, right. So Adrian lost the drive there, so Timo Smit, let's see, it was 1.1 second now, but he's got them in sight, and racing drivers are funny creatures. If you're running all on your own, you sort of settle into a rhythm, and you've got nothing to use as a beacon to aim at. Is there a change for the lead? Is this Chris on Jandre? Yes, it is Chris on Jandre, but he doesn't make it stick. In fact, Jandre holds on to that position, and I think Chris has slowed himself down. Let's see how far Timo is now only 0.8 of a second, where he was over a second. So 1st, 2nd, and 3rd is the battle that's really raging in this race. As we have a quick squiz, it's 2 minutes 40 to go. So it'll be this lap and 1 more.
It's a great battle. Unfortunately, we're not seeing much of the other guys because this is so good, but we do have a good battle at the back here with Peter Murray and Julian Brains. Peter having a good look here at Julian. Looks like a slight bump there, trying to square it off, and it didn't quite work out.
Peter Marais is the big numbered 420 PZN trucking car, and Julian has the Team High Revolution Racing number 333. So they're at each other's throats by, it was 0.1 of a second when they touched, but it's about 3/4 of a second now that Peter is behind Julian.
And Stan Bezuidenhout and Rudy van der Westhuizen also having a nice battle here. Although Stan just made a mistake.
It's just over a second, or at a second. That's 11th and 12th. Cars number 518 is Rudy, and Stan is car number 36.
The car that we're looking at, of course, is Stan Bezuidenhout, and he had asked us to mention there is a sign on the side of his car. You can see the round logo. It is a BMW logo flipped upside down and a line through it. So he's had a bad experience with BMW in the past. So ever since then, whenever he drives a BMW, he did that. In real life, he actually had that sticker on a BMW, and the dealership thought he was making a joke. And it wasn't long after that where he ended up buying a Land Rover and never bought a BMW ever again. Interesting story there.
The Fifth Amendment on the Land Rover, but but that's just but that is a what's the word I'm using? That's a contradiction in terms, because I think the Land Rovers are BMW powered nowadays.
Yes, that is quite odd.
Yeah. So what's happening in the front? Jandre Dipnar is keeping Chris Collison at bay by 1/4 of a second, and Timo Smit is only 0.6 of a second behind Chris. So that's first, second, and third, very, very close. And the race has 45 seconds to go. So depending where they are, this is a good chance that they are on the last lap. The 45 seconds. So if they, just trying to find as I said before, the circuit is a bit bland. So for me, as a commentator that hasn't been there, Jandre drifts wide. Right on the last lap, Jandre drifts wide. That gives Chris Collison a chance to come on the inside, and that's a change for first and second.
And I'm sure this is the last lap. I don't think there's going to be enough time to get to the line.
No,
if Chris is smart, he'll hold them up just in case there is.
And now, of course, Jandre has to defend from Timo, which, as I said, this is going to change things. And here comes Jandre. Is he going to be able to go up on the inside? No, I think it's Chris has just made it. It was just a little bit wide out of the corner. Once again, not necessarily Chris taking the corner through his ability, but a minor mistake made by Jandre Dipnar.
Jandre up the inside. Oh, the two of them getting sideways.
They both slided out, and that was Melbourne Hairpin. If I have it, the second last corner time is up, or it has been up for quite a while already, 20 seconds ago. They're still rubbing his racing. And Chris is all over the place, and Timo is coming at them. But yeah, it looks as though Jandre has gone in the wrong direction completely, and Timo has left him to take that second position. So it's Chris Collison, Jandre Dipnar, and Timo Smit, first, second, and third. But I think our winner for the night is going to be Timo Smit.
Could be. Could definitely be. Jason Underwood in fourth place, Richard Cillier in fifth. Andre Hildebrand getting a really good race 2 result, 6th place from Julian Brains.
Team Harder Racing finishing first and fourth. That'll wrap up the team championship for them very definitely. Well tried by Jandre, but I think he was trying to fly. I'm not sure how the scoring works. Is one car, does that contribute to the team points, or do the two cars in the team both contribute?
I believe it's the top car of the evening that contributes.
Okay, that's the same way as what in the days of Carl Fogarty World Superbikes used to do it, because you had, I think, 8 Ducatis, and in the Constructors' Championship, it's only the top Ducati that would, for instance, score points for the manufacturer's standings.
Yes, yeah.
But guys, what
nice
an
battle,
awesome race.
Battle to the line between these two. Rudy getting the better of Stan Bezuidenhout.
Yeah, by only half a second, so it's not very much.
And Wessel Verloon not far behind. So Wessel getting 13th place, and unfortunately Brandon had he's in the pits at the moment, so I think he's finished already in 14th place. And Adrian now getting a DNF, but still managing to finish 12th, I think, because he's ahead by a lap on Wessel and I think on Brandon.
Yeah.
So that's the end of the race. So we're going to jump. Sorry, I keep cutting off. We're going to jump to an ad break in a moment. Any final thoughts? Sorry.
Just what I was going to say quickly. Not that many competitors on the road, but what a spectacle they've given us both races tonight. Thank you very much.
All right. So then let's jump to an ad break, and we'll be back shortly with our top 3 interviews. welcome back everybody. We of course are joined live for the interviews from the final round of the Alwin BMW Racing Cup Season 2 Championship, which was the 22 championship that carried over. This is round 8 coming to a conclusion. It is the end of the championship. Of course, we are joined tonight by our top 3 drivers and our championship winner. I, of course, am your commentator, joined again by Sean Woodgate. So, Sean, just to let you know and let everyone else know, our drivers for tonight, we have, in fact, I've got that, have I got that wrong? I have. Indeed, I have got that wrong. It is not Chris Collison overall for the night. So my apologies, I've gone and typed that in incorrectly. Timo Swit was indeed second. Yandre was indeed third. I'm just going to double check that. So perhaps we can just get a word from Timo in the meantime while we are doing this, because I know, Timo, your position is correct.
Fantastic. Well, I'd say, Chris, take the cup and run, mate.
I should have done.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
It's on the screen, yeah. Well, congrats everyone. I had an awesome race, first race with Adrian. Yeah, it was fantastic, clean racing there. We gave each other enough room. A lot of fun there. And then the second race caught up with Chris and Janneman. They were actually quicker than me, but because they started fighting a bit in the front there, was quite tight there in the end, but luckily we all made it through. So thank you guys for that. It was fantastic. And congratulations to Mr. Underwood. Sir, I believe you can put another cup behind that name. You can actually give me one for a change, but we'll see with the GT3s. Yeah, and that's me.
So, thank you.
Just to correct myself, first of all, Chris did indeed win the round for the evening, so that is correct. For a moment, I thought I'd got it wrong, but yeah.
But Dennis, you've got to tell them what the margin was.
Well, for tonight, we'll get to the margin for the championship in a moment. This is just for the final round. So, Chris, you, of course, won Donington Park overall. So let's just get your feedback. We'll get to the championship in a moment, but that is first place for the evening. Any words from your side? How was the racing? It looked extremely close, both race 1 and 2. Some good battles. You had a good start in race 2, then went back slightly, then came forward. Jason had a bit of bad luck and then came forward. So, yeah, any words from your side?
Yeah, well, race 1, terrible start. Didn't get any lights on my display, so that's the excuse for that one. But I got swallowed up by all the fast guys, and pace was so similar, so I couldn't do much about that. But it was a good, clean race. Fought with Janneman for quite a lot of it, as usual. Race 2 got a much better start, and again had a fight with Janneman almost from start to finish. Really, really tight. He made the slightest of mistakes on the last lap, and I got through. He then took me on the inside, and I managed to then take him back on the inside and pinched it on the line. But more importantly, it was a really good race. Timo catching up with us rapidly was something to look in the mirrors as well. But yeah, thoroughly enjoyed it. Good night tonight.
Great stuff. Then let's go over to Yandre. Yandre, a fantastic third overall for you. Under trying conditions, you know, you have a chopped up finger that you've injured, and managing a really good first race and just fading towards the end there. So I presume there was some pain or something that had kicked in. But an absolutely fantastic second race. And then, as Chris alluded to, just a small mistake cost you there. But yeah, great race. Give us some feedback from your side. Did you have any pain from the finger? Did it cause you any issues?
Yeah, I was struggling with the finger. I was driving like Chris and Jason will drink the tea pinkies up. So it was quite difficult. Yeah, the first race, me and Chris had a hell of a dice. I just spun out at the end. And then I was, I think, 7th or something like that, and just too far behind to catch Richard again. The second race, I just put my head down and went for it. And yeah, like I said, we had a hell of a dice. Brandon came into play mid-race. I saw that him and Chris had a coming together, and that gave me some breathing space. But that one mistake in the last lap cost me dearly.
Yeah, it's a shame because you were having a really good battle there, and Chris and yourself had some nice inside-outside moves and really pushing each other nice and hard, but pretty clean, while doing a bit of rubbing, so that was good to watch. And there were some good battles behind you. And of course, Timo closing in towards the end there as well must have been on your minds.
Yeah, that was on my mind. That second to last corner where I went to the inside, Timo was also trying to go to the inside, so that was a touch and go. I wasn't sure what was going to happen there. And then on the last corner, Chris came on my inside. I must say it felt very different in car than it looks on the stream. So sorry for that. Pinching you there, Chris. I didn't mean it like that. But anyways, thank you. It was a nice race.
All right, great stuff. And then while we're all here, we have a fourth driver that has joined us, which of course is our overall champion. So Jason Underwood, you are the season 2 and the season 1. You have defended your championship, so congratulations.
Well, thank you very much, Dennis and Sean. Yeah, I don't know where to start. It's been a much tougher championship, I must say. I wasn't the quickest driver by any means, but I just try to stay as consistent as possible throughout the 8 rounds. And yeah, obviously my teammate pushed me right until the very last corner, till the very last lap. Congrats on the overall for the evening. But yeah, it's been tough, but it's also been good.
It was a tough round for you, this one, because it was extremely close coming into the 7 points between yourself and Chris, and Richard wasn't too far back either. And then in race 1, things went more Chris's way. And then in race 2, it looked like at one point Chris had the start and managed to get away better at the start, and you got held up and he had a bit of a gap on you. But then Chris had a bit of bad luck and you got some good luck, and things kind of turned around and you managed to actually finish with a 4-point gap over Chris. So Chris still managed to close the gap slightly, but yeah, you managed to hang on to it. So excellent racing. You must have been sweating a bit there.
Yeah, I mean, I've been sweating since round 1, to be honest. The guys are extremely quick. You know, you can't take that away from them. And we've had some up and down races. I mean, you're not always going to be quick, but as long as you keep it on the tarmac and finish, you know, it does bode well for the end of the season. But yeah, as I say, congrats to all the drivers, especially to the top 3 today. They were by far quicker than me in every aspect. So yeah, congrats to everyone.
All right, so that's our driver champion. And of course, for the team championship, we have Team Harder Racing taking the championship. So congratulations to Team Harder Racing. You were fought probably the hardest by the PZN drivers, and as we've seen in the last couple of rounds, it's been battles between the 2 teams. PZN versus Team Harder, you guys fighting really, really hard, door-to-door battles and bumper-to-bumper battles, as we saw tonight as well. Lots of those battles. So to Chris, to Jason, congratulations. A long season. The championship has gone your way. I know in some of the other championships you had a little bit of hard luck, but this championship, it's gone your way. So congratulations. It's a well-deserved championship. I think, you know, any of the drivers or teams that would have taken it would have been deserving, but you guys have obviously done that much extra and are the most deserving, and you have a trophy.
Nice one. Thank you. Well done, Chris. Good team effort.
Thank you very much. Yeah, cheers teammate. Well played.
Well done, guys.
Yeah, but just quickly, I mean, we wouldn't push as hard as we did if it wasn't for PZN and you know, the other teams pushing us hard. You know, they gave us a fight, as you quite rightly said, Dennis, till the last lap, to the last corner. They never gave up, and you know, we respect that from other teams and other drivers. And I can guarantee you, coming up to the new GT3 championship, it's going to start where it left off. So we just got to keep improving, keep working on driving, and hopefully we can have some, you know, more intense battles with Yandere and PZN boys.
All right, so that of course is our team championship, and the BMW championship is now done and dusted. We have a double champion in Jason Underwood, and we are now heading into a new chapter, which is indeed the GT3 championship. So that will be a 10-round championship versus our regular 8-round championship, so slightly longer. It'll be sponsored by IBF USA, and we'll have Silverstone, Nürburgring, Twin Ring Motegi, Imola, Long Beach, Spa, Mexico, Montreal, Sebring and the Monza Grand Prix circuit will be our 10 tracks. So the drivers will have a little bit more high-speed action. There will be 13 cars to choose from, so a much bigger selection of cars versus just the one from tonight. So let's go through you drivers and what do you think about the championship. Jason, you've just given us a brief idea of what you think is going to happen with the championship. So let's start with Chris. Chris, what do you think of the upcoming GT3 championship? Any predictions?
I wouldn't be brave enough to make any predictions. I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be something good to do, something new now. It'll be nice to see the different makes of car on the grid. Always looks good. I think we've all been practicing a bit, and I think we're all enjoying it. So roll on. We're excited to take part. And
Yandre, your thoughts on the upcoming championship? What are you expecting? Where do you think you're going to play into it? You look like you've been up there. At the moment in testing, it looks like Jason and Chris are a little bit ahead, but when it comes to race day, things could change. It's going to be a close championship. What is your take on it?
Yeah, Chris and Jason, they're all fast. The other night we played on the Imola. I think Jason was about 3 seconds faster than me. Chris, I think you were about 2 seconds faster. So it's going to be tight. We'll need to put in some time to get to them. So yeah, it's going to be hard racing, and they won't get it easy.
That's good to hear from our point of view as viewers. And then, of course, Timo, you've come out of a pretty strong championship overall. You've finished 5th overall in the BMW championship. You haven't yet signed up for the GT3s. Are you going to be taking part?
Yeah, I'll definitely. I'm planning to take part. I haven't driven any of the cars yet. I do know that it's going to be a totally different challenge with the setups. I'm presuming it's going to be open.
That's right.
So that means a lot more prep work and a lot more work. And as you know, in our country, with the load shedding challenges that we have, I mean, just hosting something like this is basically a miracle. What you guys are doing. We'll keep on fighting to create a platform like this. But looking forward to it. I can see all the drivers are amped. I can see guys signing up already. And also, like Chris said, the fact that you've got different types of cars with strengths and weaknesses, and as well as a strategy that comes into play, that opens it up for the rest of the field as well. So looking forward to that season, definitely.
Yeah, it's going to be a very different championship. It's going to have a qualifying session of 15 minutes. It's then going to have a sprint race of 6 laps, which will then set the grid for a feature race of 60 minutes, of which the drivers are open to do pit stops however they see fit. So if they choose to go all the way, they can. If they want to do a pit stop, they can. So it's going to be a very different challenge for the drivers. But once again, rounding up this championship, Sean, do you have any questions for our drivers?
Just one question for Timo. Are you going to run solo again, or are you going to go fishing for a teammate and give these other guys some uphill in the team championship?
No, at the moment I'll probably plan to do a solo thing again. It's just purely based on prepping, with the time that one have being a family guy. So I don't want to commit to something and not being able to practice and then let the guys down. So that's purely based on that. But yeah,
well, that's a fair answer.
And also, Sean, we can't give our secrets away just yet as Team Order.
There we go. I'm here with something.
Yeah, tonight from a commentary perspective is probably the closest racing we've had for the podium in both races. It certainly was great stuff to commentate on and a lot of fun, certainly from my perspective. And thanks to you guys for allowing me in to this very different form of commentary. But hopefully I'll grow from strength to strength. Different to real trackside, but not really. You're still effectively looking out of a window. And I've hopefully have added a different dimension to the sim racing.
No, thanks to you, Sean. Thanks for your time. Thanks for your insight. Thanks to you, Dennis, as well, for all the efforts you make, as usual. I'm going to say thanks to the sponsors of the championship. And if it's okay, I'm going to say hi to our newest sign-up to the Team Harder Club, who's Toby, whose mum let him stay up tonight and watch the racing. So hope you enjoyed it, fella. And last but not least, Jason, you're a worthy champion, my friend, and I'm proud to be your teammate. So well played.
Thank you, Chris.
Great words there. Then any final words then from Timo?
Yeah, also just a quick massive thanks, Sean and Dennis. A lot of effort going into this. Like I said, with the challenges that we have in our country, you still managed to produce this. And we have another exciting season coming up with the GT3s. So many thanks for all your personal time that you put in to make this possible for us. And then also for Rian van der Westhuizen for providing my awesome skin. When we sat on the grid now and I looked at all the skins, I thought it's really fantastic to be part of this community. We're growing, we are stronger than ever, and yeah, looking forward to the future. Thank you again.
Thank you very much. And then, of course, Yandre, any closing words from your side?
Dennis, Sean, thank you guys for all the hard work that you guys did. Dennis, especially you. To my team, PZN, teammates, Caroline at home, and Formula Couriers, thank you guys for everything. And we'll hope to get a better season next time.
And then, of course, we have to have a final word from Jason, our current champion. Any final words from yourself?
Yeah, well, as everybody has quite rightly said, Dennis, the work that you've put into this championship and the streaming and getting everything sorted is, it's one of a kind. So, you can pat yourself on the back. And if I was in lovely Cape Town, I'd come and give you a hug. And also, Sean, your knowledge that you've brought to the series from a commentator's point of view, it's also been outstanding. So thank you very much for that. All our rivals, Yandre, PZN, to Brandon and all of his team, also Rian, thank you for all the wonderful skins that you've provided. I think probably 90% of the grid. It's been outstanding. And also to our sponsors, JU Autos there in Cape Town. And to my teammate Chris, well done, mate. It's been a pleasure. But the work only starts now again for the next one. So let's put our head down and crack on. So yeah, thank you very much to everybody that's watched and participated in any way possible. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. And myself and Chris are just going to say our good nights to everyone. So I'm going to just drop the rest of you all out of here into the other channels. So I am just going to drop you. So thank you very much all for joining us tonight. I will just drop you one by one, and then I will come say good night to everyone else afterwards. But Sean, that's the end of the championship. And thank you again to Alwin Automotive Glass for helping us out and all other sponsors that have taken part. It's been an amazingly close championship, and it's come right down to the wire. We've had two drivers within 4 points of each other fighting right till the last race, so it's been absolutely amazing to watch. We've had battles throughout the fields. We've had pretty large fields for the most part, but the last two races it's died out slightly, so unfortunately we didn't have the bigger numbers like we've had in some of the other rounds where we've been 24, 25 drivers. So GT3s I think are going to be pretty strong. We're going to have a pretty big field there as well. We're likely to have some more international drivers joining us, including drivers from a international Mobile One Porsche Cup team, and later on we'll actually do a Porsche Cup series after that, which will have those drivers joining us. So that'll be quite exciting for the drivers that have driven in our previous Porsche Cups. There's some real world competition for you. But Chris, from your point of view, closing words on the championship. Sorry, not Chris, Sean. Sorry, Sean.
Yeah, I must say I've enjoyed it. It was, when I first got involved in this, I thought, well, let's give it a bash. And it certainly has turned out to be very, very interesting. I really look forward to the GT3s because it's going to be more than one manufacturer, and the guys have to get used to new cars, new setups. I did hear that the setup is open, so the guys have got to spend a lot more time in practice and see what works and what doesn't. It certainly does change the playing field quite a bit, and we're racing, I think, on some of the circuits that some of the guys have not driven on before. So that's also a big change, a big learning curve. It's going to be interesting to see how they all adapt. And but normally the stronger drivers do come through once they get used to the car they're driving. But having, to me, the biggest change is going to be having more than one car or one manufacturer taking part. So that's going to be very interesting to see how the cars go. And of course, having to do a little bit more homework on each of those cars is going to be very interesting.
And every car has its own characteristics, whether it's front engine or mid engine or rear engine, however it might be, and that'll play its part on the different circuits as well. So you might see one particular car strong on one track and then weak on the next track, and vice versa. So yeah, it should be an interesting championship, and hopefully it brings nice racing to a variety of drivers rather than a narrower selection at the front. This will hopefully spread it a bit.
Do you think in this championship that we've just finished, the fact that you could discard, was it your one or your two worst races, or if you didn't partake, you could discard those results, brought the championship a lot closer?
It did. You could discard 4 races, effectively 2 rounds, but it was a selected 4 worst races. So it wasn't from the same rounds. It could be 4 races from any round.
Okay. So yeah, that certainly did make a difference, that it was, as you say, a single digit. If you're scoring 30 plus points for the winner and second position, to have a championship go down to single figures, that means the racing was really close.
Yes, indeed. But all right, that's it for the championship, and thank you to everyone for watching. Remember, if you like, to hit the like button or the subscribe button, and remember to support our sponsors. Without them, we won't exist, and you won't be able to watch these amazing series that you're watching. So head over to www.alwin.co.za if you have any automotive glass requirements, and give Hilke a shot. And until then, we'll catch you probably in about 2 weeks' time for the start of the GT3 championships. So until then, we don't have any other series lined up. We do have an Automobilistic 2 series in the works. That will probably start shortly after the GT3s. That will be on Wednesday nights. But until then, we'll just have a couple of fun races. We might end up streaming one of them. But we will catch you then for the GT3 series. So until then, have a good couple of weeks and a good break. And we will catch you all then. So good evening and cheers, Sean.
Thank you, everybody. Good night.